Please welcome Meredith Oliver.
Hello everyone, and thank you Charlotte and SmartTouch so much for an opportunity to share some follow-up inside secrets and tips today to help you convert more leads to sales. You can follow me on Twitter at CreatingWow, and you can tweet as you learn tips about the seminar today, hashtag the fan factor, and we would love to hear from you. Also encourage you to use your chat box and ask questions. If you look on your GoToWebinar meeting panel and you expand it using the orange arrow at the top, and if you go towards the bottom of that control panel, you'll see a little plus sign with the word chat. Simply click that plus sign, expand it, and you can send out your ideas, your tips, your questions to the entire audience or just to me. And then it will interact that way. I'll check that periodically through the webinar. Okay, so our first thing we're going to talk about today is Homebuyer 2.0. Homebuyer 2.0 is who you're selling to. And this is critical for you to understand because Homebuyer 2.0 is not the same buyer that you've had in the past. This buyer is self-educated about the buying and selling of real estate. This buyer feels that self-education gives them a sense of empowerment. I like to refer to it as the internet empowered consumer. This is someone who knows what they think they want, and they are looking for your website, your blog, your social sites to confirm that you are that they seek. And I think even most importantly in today's world, this home buyer is socially savvy. How socially savvy is your company? Whether you're a home builder, whether you're in senior living marketing, whether you are one of our lease clients. I mean, I know a broad spectrum of people on the phone today, but just know, regardless of your specific housing niche, that you are dealing with this internet-empowered, self-educated, socially savvy customer. And this customer wants to feel important and that you get them more than anything else. How many of you are familiar with this term called ZMOT? It stands for the zero moment of truth. The zero moment of truth is an advertising principle that came up several years ago now, and it initially referred to that decision-making moment when someone, let's say you're looking for cornflakes in the grocery store, and you stand there and you look at all the boxes of cornflakes and you decide which product, which box you're going to buy. That's the zero moment of truth. In today's world, the zero moment of truth, because of Homebuyer 2.0, has changed. And I'm not going to give you a lot of why in this webinar, so hang with me, because I know you're tempted to start checking your email and start texting your friends or tweeting or checking Facebook after all this is, for many of you, your lunch hour. But hang with me, because this why is very important to the how, and I'm going to spend most of our time today on that how, giving you practical tips. But in order for those tips to be valid, I do want you to know about Homebuyer 2.0, and I want you to know about this ZMOT principle. So with ZMOT, you have three actions, and you can see them on the screen here. Your first one is your stimulus, right? So that is where something happens. And in our industry, they decide they need a new home because something has triggered that. They either need it now or they need it in the future, in the soon future, and so they've got to figure out what they're going to do next. And like I said in the example with the cornflakes, the first moment of truth happens as they make that buying or purchase decision. And it used to be really in housing that this happened in person. The second moment of truth is always the experience that customer has with your brand, with your people, And that becomes that second moment of truth. But watch how it changed with Homebuyer 2.0 and the advent of social media. This first moment of truth here is no longer an in-person experience solely. Today, it happens online. And it happens online as others are having the experience, second moment of truth, and they put it on Facebook. Look, I got a new car at Robertson Honda. They were incredible. And as they post that photo of them holding the keys in front of their bright, shiny new car. Or in our industry, as they close on their new home and they take a picture of their brand new home and say, I just built a home in Magnolia Plantation, isn't it magnificent? And they post that picture, that becomes the new moment of truth for somebody else. That is the essence of Homebuyer 2.0. You have to understand that their personal experience with you is the advertising. It is the marketing. It is everything. And you see now why we're talking about follow-up today? Because follow-up is your opportunity to differentiate whether you're an individual salesperson listening today or whether you're the marketing director or the sales director, whatever position you're in, you have the opportunity to influence and create a personal connection through the sales process. Marketing is a one-to-many. Marketing is what helps people understand in the stimulus phase, right? Selling is one-to-one. And that's why follow-up is an awesome opportunity. It's that one-to-one connection based on a great personalized demonstration of a home or whatever product it is you're selling. It's that personal conversation, and then the follow-up comes along to reinforce, to remind, to re-engage those people. And it's powerful when it's done right. Now, the disconnect is equally powerful. And the disconnect with follow-up, when we fail to create that one-on-one relationship that becomes the ZMOT for the next buyer, well, as you see here, that's when we have a broken chain. SmartTouch was kind enough to provide these numbers. Out of 425 new home communities shopped, it was a staggering 53%, 53% that did not follow up at all. That's incredible. 23% followed up within 72 hours. And only 18% followed up in 24 hours. Not good. And even if you're listening, if you're in general real estate today, the numbers aren't any better. So whether you're in new construction or general real estate, overall, we've lost that personal connection. And so my approach to follow-up, and what I hope you'll see today, is a really nice blend of high-tech and high-touch to create that connection so that the ZMOT comes full circle. Here's where enter the idea of fanatical follow-up. And I call it fanatical because I'm wanting to put the fan, the buyer, the customer, I want to put them at the center of the approach. You know, I've been in this industry a long time. I've been through the good times and the bad times. I've seen a lot of different sales processes used over the years. On one occasion, I can think of a sales process that required this particular builder's agents to ask 20 plus questions in a predefined sequence. That's very rigid. It's tough, right? And when you've got Homebuyer 2.0 that's already done a lot of homework and comes ready to have a conversation, if and only if you strike the right personalized chord with them, that kind of rigidity isn't going to work, and it's really not about the customer. So we have to find a way to have a defined sales process so that our salespeople do the steps that are important, because we know there are certain steps to a sale. but we have to do that in a customer-centric way. So I call it fanatical follow-up, and also the sales process I use it called the fanatical selling model. So the idea is the customer's in the center. It's really about them. It's not about us and internal processes that drive the experience. So your sales process, I would hope, looks something like this. First of all, you've got attract, okay? And this attract phase, we used to call this marketing, but today with social selling, much of this attract phase is going to happen one-on-one. But the idea is you bring in targeted people who are interested in your homes, in your product. It should be the right demographic. It should be the right income level. It should be the right buying motivations. Everything about that is they come in and you pull them towards you. You don't push interruption advertising at them. If you pull in the right audience to begin with up front, then you have a chance and a prayer of actually now engaging that person and having a conversation with them that is going to be meaningful. That's really the heart of the book that I wrote called The Fan Factor. The Fan Factor is about how to use social platforms to engage and to stop posting pictures of your dinner on Facebook. Nobody cares what you had for dinner. It's a fact. I'm sorry. Especially those of us who can't cook. It just really ticks us off. I'm joking. I'm over-exaggerating. If you want to post a picture of your dinner, have at it. But understand, if you're an agent, that picture of your dinner is not getting you any business. It actually may be annoying people. So you have to think about from when you talk in person to when you converse over social, over email, over the phone. How do you actually engage someone and make it about them and not about you? We've got enough of about us. I mean, think of the very idea that the term selfie was the word of the year for 2013 from the Oxford University Press. The word of the year, selfie, because we're all in the mirror doing duck face. It's ridiculous. Get over yourself and think about the other person, and you're already going to be ahead of the game. Now, the next one is convert. Because think about it, if you've attracted the right group in, you have now engaged with a personalized conversation that's about them and not about your duck face. You are now ready to actually convert them. You're now ready to actually ask them, as they would say on TLC's hit show, is this your dress? You know, they say on that show all the time where they sell the wedding dresses, they'll say, is this your dress? Because they've already done these things. Sorry guys, if you're listening, substitute dress for like golf clubs or power tools. But they'll say, is this your wedding dress? And the girls will start crying every time. Yes, this is my dress. And I'm telling you, these dresses are like 5 sets of golf clubs. They're so expensive, like $20,000 dresses. On the show, Say Yes to the Dress on TLC, and sure enough, they go, yeah, it's my dress. Do you think they just said that on the first one they tried on? No. They attracted them. They figured out what they wanted. They got them in the right one, and then, yes, they did ask for the sale. And if need be, they did their follow-up. We're going to talk about that later. And I used to really only have these 3 things in the fanatical selling model, but I've added the wow. Because the ZMOT principle tells us that that experience drives the attraction for the next person. So the wow part of the selling model has to be the experience of what was it actually like. It can be well and good to be wow online, but are you wow on site? Because you've got to have the marriage of both to create sales in today's environment. And I hope that makes sense to all of you. If I haven't seen any chats yet, but if you've got a comment or a question, I'm checking the chat box periodically. I'm very interested to hear your feedback. All right, so our first principle on follow-up is to respond quickly. Now, I want to break our follow-up into 2 categories today. I want to break it into internet inquiries And then I want to break it into on-site visits when they actually come into your sales office, your model home, whatever kind of offline environment that you meet your prospects. All right, now with your internet inquiries, this responding quickly is the game. It's the only game. It is it. That's it. There's nothing else. You've got to be fast. And how fast is fast enough? Nothing is too fast enough. There is only too slow. There is no too fast. You've got to be instant message, text message, live chat fast. Period. The end. Every single study I read, whether it's general real estate or new construction, the time to conversion ratio goes down dramatically the longer your response time is. Really, ideally, it needs to be within the hour. Within minutes would be even better. Now, that's particularly challenging when you have a lot of internet leads, or if you're a small company and you only have a few internet leads. So I'm going to launch an interactive poll next. Let me hit launch here. And I would love you to vote and tell me out there so I get a sense of it. How many of you have 1 to 10 internet leads per month? 10 to 25, 25 to 50, 50 to 100, 100 plus. It's really all relative as you start to vote. Looks like 1 to 10's in the lead right now. It is relative on how cumbersome this is. If you're only getting 1 to 10, you're probably a smaller size builder, so it's still hard for you to respond quickly. If you're getting 100 plus, it's tough too. So I understand that it's relative, but I was curious to see what the numbers are. As you're voting, I'll give you the rule of thumb. It generally speaking, as you look at your Google Analytics numbers, look at the unique visitors number per month of how many unique, that eliminates duplicates, unique visitors you have per month, and figure 1 to 2% of the unique visitor number should be filling out a form on your website and becoming a lead. And that's the kind of internet lead I'm talking about. Now, you could also factor into your total number if you do live chat. You could factor in live chats. You could also factor in if you have a way like a call source program where you track phone calls that come in and you have a unique number on the website and it tracks as a phone call. So you can add up all those sources and you should be at 1 to 2% industry average. All right, so it looks like we had 68% that voted. I'm going to close the poll and share the results. 47% of you are 1 to 10 internet leads per month, 18% at 10 to 25, 11% 25 to 50, and 26% at 100 plus. If you want more leads, then you've got to up the call to action on the website. And that's a totally different webinar and something we can do at a different day. But for now, it's important to be able to say, we get this many a month. I mean, if you don't even know how many a month you have, how are you going to develop a plan to respond quickly? So I think that's an important number. And a lot of times, a lot of places I go, they don't always have that number. When we're talking about responding quickly, we want to talk about responding within the hour, using a personalized response. And I also want to really encourage you, if they give you a phone number, it is okay, and I think expected for you to call. I think if it comes in on an email with a phone number, we tend to think they just want an email. Well, then why do they put the number in? If they didn't want to give you a phone number, they would have put a fake number in or no number at all. So if you get a number, call them. And salespeople, if you are listening, please hear me when I tell you that you will always do better at setting appointments with any kind of lead, whether it's an internet lead or someone that has previously come into the model. You will always do better if you get them on the phone. Now, I know that can be hard to do. You're like, yeah, easy for you to say, lady. I get a lot of voicemails. Okay, we're going to talk about that in just a minute. I want to give you some tips on that will help. But the idea is try to get get them by phone. Every online sales counselor I talk to or on-site agent I talk to, when I say, what is your best lead conversion tool for appointments, they say phone calls. They love, love, love that. So I encourage you to do that. All right, now let's talk about how much you're going to follow up, because I'm going to give you a little hint. It should be more than one time, but it rarely is. Rarely is, and that's what's so sad. So I'm going to launch one more interactive poll, and I'm going to ask you what you think. How much is the optimal amount of follow-up? Do you think 2 times, 3 times, 6+ times? You know, what do you think feels right? Now, granted, it's really important that the amount and timing of follow-up is individualized to every single prospect. And that's why having your salespeople trained on how to have a personalized conversation with every prospect is so important, because they can't create a personalized follow-up plan, a PFP, if they don't have that information. So I get that. But I also think with salespeople, it's important to set overall guidelines and encourage them to try to hit certain benchmarks so they have a feeling of where they should be. All right, we're 53% voted. So far, 6 times is in the lead. Some of you must have read ahead. I'll give it just another second or two, and then we'll close it out. But I have to tell you that in any kind of mystery shopping that we've done on online, and then my good friend Melinda Brody, who does the on-site mystery shopping, I mean, it is just rarely even 2 follow-ups that we see out there. So I think that's a big issue. Why do salespeople fail to follow up? Well, there's a lot of reasons. I think there is a fear of not rejection so much as a quote unquote, in the words of Regis Philbin, final answer, in which case it means the lead really is dead, and if I don't ask, they can't tell me that, and I want to keep hoping and believing they're gonna buy. So we kind of fear the termination of the relationship. We don't really want to hear that. I think another issue, frankly, is discipline. It takes a disciplined person to have a system in place. I think another issue is time management and really just feeling like it's busy work. And I think maybe the last issue is this idea that, you know, I don't know how much it really works. I never get a call back. I never get a reply to the email. I'm not really even sure it's worth the effort, in which case I would say do it correctly, and it definitely will work, and I'm going to give you those tips in just a second. All right, we're at 70% voted, so I am going to close out this poll and share the results. Yep, a lot of you did go for the 6+ times, so that's pretty impressive. The other top vote getter was 3 times. The real answer is whatever you do feel is appropriate and personalized to that prospect. But I will show you on the next slide that there are some percentages, and this actually does come out of the general real estate world on a study that was done with general real estate agents, and you do have a much higher chance of connecting on the 6th attempt. I think that's really because of how busy and totally distracted and crazy we are. We're more connected than ever. We're also absolutely more distracted than ever. I mean, we're so busy texting and tweeting and buzzing and beeping. I mean, it's insane, right? And so just understand that while it may feel like you are absolutely stalking this person, the truth is with 2 attempts or 3 attempts, you may not have even made it on their radar. So finding that fine line is really important. So I'm going to go with a basic guideline of 6 attempts. Although again, you're going to personalize this per prospect. And also, I'm only saying this if you hear from them originally, they opt in, you hear from them, and then you are responding and you don't hear from them again. If you hear from them again, then now you're in a dialogue situation, and you should let that play its course. But if they just go off the radar completely, then you have to have a plan for how many times you're going to check in. Okay? I do want to emphasize that these types of follow-ups should be one-on-one. I do not recommend that these are e-blasts, like an e-flyer type thing. That's not appropriate. Remember, once you get to this point, you are selling it as a one-to-one contact sport. This is not one-to-many marketing. So that's really important. And I also want to encourage you, use your CRM to prioritize so that your A's may get the most personalized level and have a certain follow-up flow and structure. And let's be honest, your C's, maybe they are getting a drip campaign that is still written very conversationally and feels very one-to-one, but it is pre-written. So that way, those of you that are 100 plus a month, you could have a couple different follow-up campaigns in place to manage everybody and do it as good as well as humanly possible with the amount of staff that you have. All right, now I haven't seen any chats yet. I am dying for someone to pose a question or something. So if you have something, please reach out because I do want to make sure everybody's getting their questions answered as we go. Now, the thing that I want to recommend, this is where I want to be. Here's my number one tip on great follow-up. Okay, you ready? This is important. Never, ever, ever again write an email or leave a voicemail or send a personalized handwritten note that starts with the words, "I'm just checking in." Get rid of it. Don't say it. Another good one is touching base. And another one is thank you for internet leads, the initial email that goes back, thank you for your inquiry. Get rid of all of that. It's trite, it's cliched, it sounds like a form letter, and they will not write you back. They will not call you back. They will not visit again. Get rid of it. And I'm guilty too. I am preaching to the choir here, but absolutely erase it from your vocabulary and your salespeople's vocabulary. It is not helpful. In fact, what you want to do is add value to the conversation and make sure that it is giving you giving you those right things, giving you those phrases. All right, so we have had somebody write in a question, yay. What are some of the tips to juggle follow-up if you are also manning a model home or sales center? Oh yeah, those of you that are massively multitasking, oh, I like that, massively multitasking, MMT, I just made that up. Okay, those of you that have a lot going on, our number one thing is you're going to have to use a CRM system. I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. You cannot do this with Post-it notes because you just can't remember it all. The other tip I'll give you, because I'll get back to CRM in just a minute, the other tip I'll give you is you've got to pre-schedule time. The only way my blog gets written every single week, which you can read at thedigitaldivablog.com, by the way, the only way that gets written is because I have a 45-minute block pre-blocked once a week. Otherwise, it doesn't happen. Follow-up is one of those important activities, like as Stephen Covey used to talk about the urgent versus the important. It's one of those important things that has to be pre-blocked. So you got to find some time, set aside that is your time to write notes and make phone calls. And then things that need to happen more in real time on the fly, if you're using your CRM and your smartphone, you can do them pretty quickly and manage it pretty well. All right, let's go back to talking about adding value. Great question. Keep them coming. Before you send that next email or make the phone call or write the note, ask yourself, does this message in this follow-up, does it add value? You can even ask yourself these questions. Would I want to hear from me? Would I want to receive this piece of correspondence? Ask yourself, does this represent me, the sales agent, well? Does it represent my builder well? In other words, is it professionally written? Is it grammatically correct? I mean, you just would not believe when we do the online mystery shopping. I mean, it's insane. We get these emails back in Comic Sans, which is the childlike font that's hot pink. It's completely unreadable, full of spelling errors, full of grammatical mistakes. It's just horrifying. That does not represent your builder well. Does this add value to our relationship? And the one that's the most important that I really, really want to stress is this, meaning the message, is this message designed to benefit the prospect or me? And if the messaging is all about me, you are not doing fanatical follow-up. You are doing me follow-up. It should be about them, and it should be based on the conversation that you just had. All right. Okay, good. We've got another question that's come in. What subject lines do you recommend for drip campaign? I'm actually getting responses from checking in. Okay, great. Hey, any of you, if something I say is contrary to what you find works, then ignore it. Obviously, do not fix what isn't broken. I think maybe there is a little bit of a difference, those of you that are online sales counselors that are mostly communicating via email. I think checking in might be a little bit better in that instance because they're at the initial stages, and I think that could actually be kind of seen as a helpful thing. Once you've met with somebody in person, the approach should be at a deeper level. It should be different. So for drip campaigns, to heart of your question, what I like is if first of all, your brand name should be like your first word. So if you're ABC Builders, ABC Builder is the first thing. Remember, most inboxes are set to show maybe 50 characters of a subject line. So we want to make sure they know it isn't spam. And having a brand name can help them remember, oh yeah, I've been in a conversation with Meredith at ABC Builders. If they know the brand name of the community better, maybe you use that, but you use whatever you know is going to let them know, hey, this isn't spam. Then I think following up on your new home search, following up on our conversation about a new home, anything that subject line can do, again, to reference back that, hey, we've been in a dialogue and this is who I am, I think is an excellent approach. So I hope that helps you. All right, when you are doing follow-up and you've actually already had some type of conversation with the prospect and you want to add value, how are you going to do that? All right, here's my tip number one. Share an idea or an insight with them in your follow-up. An idea or an insight. Ideas and insights are very easy to come by on the internet. They're everywhere. If you frequent websites like Pinterest, like Houzz, H-O-U-Z-Z, Etsy, which is another really great crafty social type of site. If you frequent any of these, okay, maybe you're a guy and you're really not into Pinterest, Houzz, and Etsy, then maybe you have some blogs that you like to follow. Maybe they're more construction-based or they're finance-based. It doesn't have to all be about throw pillows. So you, as a salesperson, need to be following some home-related content that you can then use to pass along and share as an idea or an insight as added value follow-up. Okay? So if you're an on-site agent, here's an example. We talked about the importance of an open concept in your new home. So I thought you might be interested in fill in the blank, in this article about decorating open concept, in this article on how to define open concept spaces into smaller spaces, but yet they feel all unified. There's so many directions that could take. Now, the other thing you can do, if you don't really have an insight to share, but you want to relate back to a previous conversation, is don't forget about your smartphone. There's a lot of great apps that can help you. For example, you could use an app like Panorama 360. That's Panorama 360. And you can simply take a panoramic 360 quick tour of whatever space it is you looked at that day with that individual and shoot it off to them and say, this is what we looked at today, and I can tell your eyes really lit up at how open concept this was, so I thought I'd send you a little reminder so you could show your friends. Those of you that are online sales counselors, you could use this simply if they request about a particular floor plan. What if you had a few of these pre-shot that you could send along, or a virtual tour or a photo gallery? You could send along, and then you could share that and say, I know you're kind of interested in this. Here's another view of that. So I think that is an excellent way to add an insight or an idea through a virtual tour, through a Panorama 360. Something like that can be really, really good. Other apps you could take a look at, there's an app called Ruler Phone. I don't really understand how this works. It's kind of like gravity. We just accept it. So what this app does is it measures the space of things by simply, the distance of things by simply taking a photo with your smartphone. Oh, I just blew my mind. Oh my word, are you kidding me? So let's say you're walking the model and somebody really likes the space and the couple gets in an argument over whether their beloved couch is going to fit or not. You may actually know the distance because you get asked that a lot. But why not instead say, you know, I'll check on that for you, take a photo of it, let Ruler Phone give you an answer, and then shoot that off to them in an email later that afternoon. Say, I checked on that, and sure enough, so when do you want to come back and pick out some paint colors to match that couch? You know, you could really pull them back in. So again, there's all kinds of great apps. All you need to do is go to either the Google Play App Store or the iTunes App Store. In the search bar, type in homes, new homes, real estate, home design, like type in keywords in our category and watch the apps pop up. And you'll find all kinds of cool ones. And if anybody has another cool app they want to write in for everybody else, please do, and I'll share it because apps are a great follow-up tool. Okay, another opportunity is for you to solve a problem. Solving a problem is where you've discussed something. For example, I mentioned a concern about selling your home, so I thought I'd share this with you. And this is really key because you have to listen for those potential objections and then not only overcome them as you talk to them, but also overcome them in your follow-up and reinforce. Now, none of this is going to be possible if you aren't using a CRM system. And I cannot state that strongly enough. So I hope that all of you have one in place. My experience is a lot don't, and it really is, key to this so that every single prospect gets entered into the CRM system, which can be done very smoothly through your website for all your internet leads without having to do double data entry. For the model home, having all of those registration cards entered, it's really key. And helping the salespeople understand that this isn't for Big Brother monitoring, but this is for their own productivity and time management tool. So if you need additional training with your salespeople to help them really embrace and adopt the CRM, I would strongly advise you do that. I mean, I know SmartTouch has a great trainer for those of you that are SmartTouch clients. Re-engage that person. Get them out there to retrain everybody on how to use it right. And get them excited, and if you have to incentivize them or give some spiffs to get them using the CRM, I mean, we really can't do what I am talking about without documenting these communication preferences of the buyer, without documenting what they like, what they're into, and how many times you have followed up, and having those predefined workflows. I mean, all of this, yeah, it's sophisticated, but with the right tool, like a SmartTouch, for example, you can do it. Any job is tough, when you move into a new house, you're going to have to put up your window treatments, you're going to have to hang pictures on the wall, but if you have the right hammer and you have the right drill, with time and a bit of effort, you can get her done. But you sure can't hang a picture with a sledgehammer. I guess you could, but the result would be poor, right? So getting that tool in place is super important. All right, last tip on adding value with follow-up is this engaging with questions. Making sure that every follow-up you do, you ask a question in the follow-up, which essentially hits the ball over the net and invites them to hit the ball back to you. If you aren't peppering your follow-up with a question or two, now I do not mean 20, a question or two, then you're missing an opportunity. At that point, you're really having more of a monologue versus a dialogue where it's going back and forth. So I do encourage you to ask a question. What's your favorite feature that we looked at today? And try to get away. Do not do the salesy questions. When do you expect to make a decision? Or everything that's trite and cliche, Home Buyer 2.0 will ignore. So get rid of all that. Try to think about specifically about the conversation. Those of you that are the online sales counselors, hey, this is tough because you haven't had a lot of conversation with them yet. So some more introductory questions for you all will be more about, is there a part of town you're looking at? Is there a particular size home? Are you familiar with the area? Just really trying to help orient them to your builder, your area, and letting them know that you are the concierge to help answer all of their questions. And I promise you, with a conversational, well-written email that asks a question, you will get a response. And a lot of times, for those of you that are internet counselors, the shorter your email, the more conversational it is. It needs to be professional and grammatically correct and spell everything correctly, but the shorter it is, almost more like you wrote it from your phone, the more we'll write back to you. So just keep that in mind. It's really got to be one-on-one. When all else fails, this is why you need CRM, because without documenting all the different ways you've tried to contact someone and at what time, you won't know when it's time to change the channel. Changing the channel means I've emailed, email's not working, I need to make a phone call. I've left a couple of messages, that's not working, I need to switch it up and maybe text. And of course you have to have the right permission, you have to have asked ahead of time how they want to converse with you, and you got to document that, right? So change the channel, make sure that you are matching the prospect's best communication channel. All of us have very strong preferences on communication channel, and your preference as the seller is not necessarily the buyer's preference. So you, the salesperson, have to be the flexible one. You may personally hate texting. You may hate it. You may think texting is evil. But I'm telling you, if you ever want to talk to your teenagers again or reach Gen Y home buyers, you will need to text them. So it's up to you to be flexible and to do what matches them and not try to force everybody into a phone call or into an email if it won't fit. Now, having said that, I will encourage you to try, as I said earlier, try to use the phone as much as you can. But if you have somebody that's absolutely resistant, that is not going to communicate that way, then you've got to make a change. All right, so I think that's really important. Okay. All right, so we're right at our time for today. I do want you to think about this, that there are many of you on the phone call today. We had quite a lot that signed up, and you listened, and it's really going to be about execution. Very few of you will actually execute on this information. And I'm not trying to be mean, but it's true. It's a sad statistic. Follow-up is all about execution. And I know that Alan and Robert of SmartTouch would agree on this. I'm sure they see this every day in their work, that there's plenty of people that contact about maybe wanting to get a CRM or maybe wanting a new website or maybe wanting search engine optimization, but the ones that actually take the next step and are willing to execute and implement, it's like half the battle of all of this. So I don't know whether you need training for your salespeople, or you need more software training, or you just need to get started. What is your next step today? Identify one thing out of the information and make that next step happen and get you going in the right direction. I do have 2 books, Fan Factor and Click Power. I'm more than happy to offer them to you all as clients and friends of SmartTouch, FOSMT, right? I'm happy to offer them at $20 instead of the $24.95. So if you want to email me, I'm happy to make that happen. If you want an ebook form, they're only $10. So it's really not much, and both of them will talk about pieces of what we did today, and could be really, really good. You can get me at meredith@creatingwow.com. Big thank you to SmartTouch today for hosting this. They are really visionaries in the field. We work together on a lot of client projects, and I always enjoy working with them. Their customer service is terrific, and their product is outstanding, and it's best in its class. So I really want to thank Robert Allen. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Charlotte, I thank you for being our hostess with the mostest today, and I think we're going to wrap it up and get everybody back to work. Thank you, everybody. I enjoyed it, and I will hopefully be talking to you soon. Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.